Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Cozzens, one of the Project H.E.A.L artists that have been working in Smoketown recently. Before I tell you about my project, I want to say thank you to everyone there that I've spoken to or that I've worked with while developing this project. You're all awesome. So my goal for the project was to first off meet as many people as I could within Smoketown. I'm personally not from Smoketown. I just moved from Portland to a couple blocks away on Oak Street, so you know, I'm pretty close, but I still want to meet a lot more people. And while doing that, I also wanted to visually capture some of the stories and hardships that people from Smoketown face. Each one of these rods represents a person and a story that has experienced some sort of trauma that has altered their life in a negative way. I see this sort of as a model for something that I would like to make much larger and outside in Smoketown, and the way the project is structured, I would like to keep building on it as long as people are willing to keep talking to me. So as I was out there working on the project, I was at the corner of Finzer and Clay, and anytime someone would approach me, I would grab a steel rod and I would measure it to the length that coincides with how old that person is. And as you can see in the sculpture that's there, I talk to people anywhere from 4 years old to over 70 years old. And as their story evolved, I would put a bend in during those times that something traumatic happened to them that would change their lives, right? And I would also mark that with a piece of tape to let me know and everyone know what that issue was. I used red tape for violence, yellow tape for mental illness, black tape for incarceration, green for family issues, blue for trauma, and white for addiction. And so you can kind of look at the sculpture and you can see a lot of patterns evolving. For instance, if you just look at addiction, you can kind of see that it tends to happen the most around 17 to 23, right? So in that time, that's when people are starting to become addicted, right? And another thing you can tell is that very often happens right after a traumatic experience has happened to them. And a lot of times, once that initially happens, you tend to get a lot more bends as you go up from there, right? And so even though every story is completely different, you start to see similarities within them. So what you end up with is an abstract sculpture that not only tells an individual story, but kind of starts to tell the story of Smoketown. You know, you can look at this sculpture and really start to read what's going on. One thing that I think is very important to remember is something someone really awesome said to me. As I started putting these together and I started remembering the stories and putting faces with them and seeing them all together, it was really disheartening, and it got really hard to look at for me, really. But Hannah, being the awesome person she is, pointed out something that I think is very important to remember, to put it in perspective. You know, even though there's a lot of bends, there's a lot of trauma that has happened here, you know, and they may be bent, but they're not broken. You know, they're all still going and they're trucking along and they're making it happen, right? And I think that's something extremely important to remember from my perspective. So, with that being said, I want to thank all of you for being a part of my project, and I want to welcome you to talk to me and tell me your story. Here in a second I'll post my email down there. I would love to hear from you. If you want to meet up and tell me your story, I would love to capture it. And you know, even everyone's story matters. So again, I hope to talk to you soon, and thank you for working with me on the project.